Listening to RTI Audio, powered by Rocky Top Insider. This is Pancakes and Bacon with VFL, Kyler Kerbyson, and Reed Bacon.
Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Pancakes and Bacon. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Kerbyson, joined with Reed Bacon. Got another great one, as we always do. Had a little time under our belt. Skipped last week. But now we got a ton of stuff to go over. A bunch of different things happening. A lot of transfer portal, a lot of coaching portal. But first, if you guys are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Leave a comment. If you're just listening, rate, review, download, re-download. Follow us on all those listening platforms. Follow us on social media. Everything is in the description below. Now, before we jump into all the chaos, Reed, how are we doing, bud?
Well. Man, it feels good. It was only 1 week, but I'm like fired up to sit and talk with you. I've got my coffee, so it's honestly as if you and I were just having a phone conversation or just going to grab.
That's exactly what this podcast has always been.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I'm just got my coffee. We're sitting across the table level each other for breakfast, and last week, I mean, we stuff to talk about, but 1 week off, and now it's like boom, we have a plethora of stuff to talk about. You and I have not talked about it, so I'm excited to talk about it. I'm doing well. So I guess first week of December was a little slow for bacon junk removal. But hey, I take it one day at a time. I know the Lord's there for me. I just put in the effort. I know it'll show back up. And this past week was great. Got some stuff coming up this upcoming week. So far, winter times have been fine, and just super appreciative. And so bacon junk removal.
Yeah.
If you guys need anything, holler at us.
Whoever's out there, once the Christmas is over, you need to get rid of that tree. Well, you need to get rid of all the stuff left over from presents. You need to make some room for the new presents that you got put in your house. You know who to call.
Exactly. And soon enough, when I talk Kyler into moving back to Knoxville, he's going to be co-owner of Bacon Junk Removal, and he and I will just go get everything together. We won't even need any help because I'll just have you.
I'll help build. You can help demo.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I actually did talk to someone recently about demoing a pretty large deck, and then so that'll be that. I mean, I've done it before, but I always enjoy a nice demo.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Get a little the season's frustration out on that deck.
True, brother. True. How have you been past week or so?
Pretty good. Things are going well at the new job. Loving it. Enjoying that whole process. Getting more understanding of like commercial construction. So liking that. Yesterday, spent a good amount of the day doing some shoring, adding some joist hangers, adding some extra support underneath the portion of the house. So that was fun too. Just cutting some stuff, building some stuff.
At your house?
Yeah, in my house.
Do you have a pretty good plethora of tools?
Yeah. Yeah, I so with previous job, it was like I kind of needed them when I first started because I was doing demo work just randomly. I was, putting some stuff together that might need it. So it's like I've got a drill, an impact, a sawzall, a multi-tool, a circular saw, a grinder, and then I've got levels and everything else that you might need. And I just picked up different stuff too.
Yeah, I just was asking because I didn't know if it was supplied to you at your last job or if you just went ahead and bought it. Because that's one thing. I've never been a big tool guy, but when I started this, I mean, I've started collecting and getting.
Yeah, you got to kind of you have to.
Yeah. Like on Black Friday, Ace was running a deal where if you bought a battery, because I do all Craftsman stuff, which, listen, that's just what we started with. Craftsman's been fine to me. I know that there's like a big like battle
Yeah,
between,
there is.
like who thinks what's good and not. But I needed some more batteries just to have extra ones. So if you bought a battery, you got another tool, and then they were doing another one. It's like, I already have a reciprocating saw. It's been great to me, but they're like, buy a saw, you get a battery free for. So if you bought them separately, they're each $100. But I got two of them for $100. I was like, I need another one. But
Give it to. I'll take another.
yeah, but realistically, when I go and you have to demo or do like a hot tub or whatever, the more saws the merrier, so people can just be getting
Sure.
out. So
You have to wait on the guy to finish that side so you can start the other.
Yeah, but that's why I asked, because I never knew with Rogers Build if you had to have your own or whatever else. But anyways, happy you're doing well. Like I said, it feels good to be back to talk. We will, as you guys see, we're going to talk Timmy and Jimmy. That's a nice little reference that Kyler put on there for South Park. So we're going to talk about Tim Banks getting fired, Mr. Jimmy Knowles getting hired. We'll talk transfer portal stuff, and then we'll finish up with the Vols and the college football playoff. And there has been a lot of coaching stuff, but let's go ahead and get into this because we haven't talked about it, Kyler. So you and I both made a statement that if Tim Banks got fired, it was just kind of like, it is what it is. We didn't want to call for someone to lose their job.
Mm-hmm.
There was still a little bit for me. There was still a little bit of like, will Heupel pull the trigger? Like, will he actually do it?
Yeah.
And then he did it, and I was like, okay. Like, I hoped he was doing that because in his gut he felt like it needed to be done, not because pressure,
outside influence.
Yeah. Because if he didn't want to do it, then I don't want that.
Yeah. Agreed. I think people will kind of hear this differently, but I think that is what happened with Coach Jones. And there was outside influence in his coaching decisions of firing guys, hiring guys.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's where downfall starts. Like if you're not even trusting your own opinion on dudes, you're just like depending on others. It's not going to work.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody wanted him to get rid of Jancic. Jancic always had us in like 20s or 30s defense is what I felt like. Don't quote me on that. And everybody was so fired up about Bob Shoop, and then it came in, and I think the defense may have been worse statistically. I'm not going to dive back into the archives to really go on that one. But yeah, if this is what he wanted to do, then I'm fine with it. A couple things on Tim. I think Tim was better than I ever expected him to be here. Because when we hired him, if you think back, you're like, whoa, he was like the co-defensive coordinator, and his stats or resume is probably not going to blow you away. And so it's like, I don't know. But I felt like he progressed while he was here. And then, which this is going to be an overall thought for me, but like when he did get the Jimmys and Joes, like he was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my thing, that if Tim stayed, you can see that he can be good with the Jimmys and Joes. I do think a little bit of this year, now that I can step back and reflect and not be in the season, like there were some things that definitely need to be fixed, and sometimes you just need a new voice. This is embarrassing to admit. I didn't know that Tim Banks was our safeties coach. I always know that the defense coordinator has his own positions, but I never put it together, but I should have, because Willie's with corners and nickels. And then you got William Inge with the linebackers. Then you got Rodney Garner. So it's like, where else would Tim would have been? And to be honest, our safeties have probably been the weakest point over the past 5 years. The entire 5 years, our safeties have probably been the weakest. Last year was probably their best with Will Brooks and Jacoby Thomas and Andre Turrentine and kind of the rotation.
Yeah.
So I don't, that's not acceptable. So yeah, like I think looking from the outside looking in, I don't know how you couldn't say it's an improvement if we're just looking based on numbers. And we'll get to Jim here in a minute. But based on numbers, it looks like, hey, we and if I'm not mistaken, is this the first time Heupel's fired someone? Everyone else was just either like let go or they left on their own? Because I don't think he's fired anyone else.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Like I don't think anybody has been fired.
Yeah.
Just on like the oh, we're not good enough in this group,
Right.
because every year there has been growth with Heupel and his team. So
Right.
like, I don't think this is the first year where it's like a little bit of regression. So that's where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, antenna's up. What's going on? And I think that's ultimately what happened with Tim. He, his defense is the reason why we were able to make it to the playoffs last year. It was not Heupel's offense, and that's great. And that is a, awesome thing to put inside his like win column, right? His strength, his pro
Yeah.
that comes in this decision making. But then it's, hey, you don't have all the Jimmys and the Joes. You aren't in the best scenario. What can you do to adjust and to scheme and to make it work with what you're working with? If you fail at that, then it's like, I can't always guarantee you that you will have all the Jimmys and the Joes. That's not how this sport works. That's not how the transfer portal has come into play. That's not how recruiting has come into play. And that's not how injuries work as well, because you're going to deal with them every year. I need to know that you can still do it. I need to know that you're going to come up with a scheme versus Diego Pavia to make him throw the ball more. And that didn't happen, right? They were able to just run the ball as much as they wanted. And that's not all to do with Jimmy's and Joe's. So I think that's ultimately the deciding factor for Heupel on Tim, is just when you don't have it perfect, when it's not all set up the way you need it to, what can you do? And Heupel, I feel like, has had a fantastic resume with that. Hey, I don't have the best quarterback, but by God, I'm going to have SEC Player of the Year on offense. He's my running back last year. Hey, yeah, my quarterback leaves me. I got to bring in a new dude and try and make it work. Okay, like, let me see what I can do with this. And ultimately, there were some execution failures on the offense, which falls back to him. But still, like, hey, we're giving our best effort. Here's our, SEC freshman of the year at wide receiver. Here's these other freshmen that are playing really, really well. So, yeah, I think that was the ultimate decision. Now, when it comes to Jimmy, I haven't really like dove in to what he does and what his defensive philosophy is, and what he likes to do the most. But I've heard mixed reviews from Ohio State fans. Some really liked him. Some are like, he kind of lost his luster. But the guy still, he has a national championship under his belt. So there's something to it.
Yeah. Before I get into Jim, I think with Tim, because going throughout the season, I'm like, he doesn't have, I'll admit, like I said multiple times, I was wrong about the D line. Now he didn't have Hobbs, he didn't have Jackson Moy for a little bit, which are two big pieces. He loses Ricky. He probably knew Dramad wasn't coming back. I don't think he expected Boo to go from an all SEC caliber to a non-factor, basically. But saying all that, like, I got to give credit where credit is due. Like, Ty Redmond came on pretty good. Colton Hood was fabulous. His linebackers were pretty much intact. Arian Carter, which we'll talk about before we get off here. He missed a couple games and things like that. But overall, I think when you take the young guys in and injuries, I don't know, man. I still think 93rd overall is pretty tough. And I think you make a good point that his game plan or his strategy for that Vanderbilt game could came back to haunt him. And I think if we end up, even if we lose that game and it's we lose like 35-28, but the fact that we just got it kind of handed to us and that there didn't seem like there was many adjustments, which Tim's always been, we're going to bend but don't break. We don't care if you drive it. We're just going to hold you to 3, or try to get a turnover in the red zone. So, but I think the guy's still our coach if our defense is ranked 70th and not 93rd. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think
if it was ranked 70th, there's probably 2 games that are flipped.
Yeah.
Out of the 4 losses, it's like if they're just a little bit better, if they're just a tiny bit better, we win versus Georgia.
Yeah.
If they're just tiny bit better, we I wouldn't say Oklahoma because Oklahoma was our offense failing.
Right.
But
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's like I think fans see a lot of the yardage and a lot of that stuff and be like, oh my gosh, he can't stop. He can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. But it's a very feast or famine thing because if you give up all those yardage and you hold them to field goals or turnovers in the red zone, you look like a hero. But when they start converting them this year, whether it is Georgia or whether it was Mississippi State or whether it was Vanderbilt, like that, you're in trouble there. So I think this is. I'm happy that we're moving on to something different. I wouldn't say I'm happy. I'm excited to see something else. Let me say that I'm not happy that Tim Banks is gone, but I'm excited to see something else. And I do think it's an improvement. That's where I'm at with it because, like I said, I've watched Tim Banks for 5 years, and he did some really, really good things. But I think that Jim does have a chance to be better and an upgrade, and I'll be surprised if he's not even the same as Tim Banks.
Yeah, if he's worse, you would be surprised. Yeah.
That was what I was trying to get at is like I think he's either going to be about the same or better. I don't see him being any worse. So I feel like that makes it a good hire.
A good risk reward as well of firing a coach and hiring someone that you technically don't. Like it's still a good my return is going to be better, is going to be same or better.
Yes, exactly. So there's really not a gamble to it. So for we're talking about Jim, obviously we watched what Jim did at Ohio State against Tennessee, and then what he did the next week against Oregon, and that was his second time seeing Oregon that year because they lost the first one. Mm-hmm. When they've lost to Michigan, I don't think you could blame it on a defense when they lost. It was it was like a 13-14 or 17-14 game or whatever else. I did get to watch a good amount of Jim's defense against Indiana this year. And so I wrote down the stats of that game. So he held Indiana. Now there are a couple things here. Now, Penn State was playing at home, so that does play a factor for defense. Mm-hmm. But their season is completely off the rails at this point. James Franklin has been fired. And I know that Penn State still has some dudes, but for Jim to be able to get his defense to hold IU to 218 yards passing and only 108 yards rushing, I really like this. They held IU. They were Indiana was only 5 of 12 on third down, and then they had 3 sacks. They held 4 punts and they got 1 pick. And it took one of the best catches I've ever watched live to beat them.
Oh yeah.
He is a little bit like Tim, where he's going to man you up and he's going to bring it, and you're just going to have to beat him. And he manned up and brought it against Mendoza a couple times to where I thought they were going to win it, and then I think it was either 3rd or 4th down with an amazing catch that got him. So you live by the sword, you're going to die by it sometimes. But watching that game, I was pretty impressed. Not at that time, clearly I had no idea that he's going to be our defensive coordinator going into the next year. But then I just jumped into some quick stats. So in 2025, with all that stuff that happened at Penn State, he has the 37th ranked defense. 2024, no surprise, he had the number 1 defense. 2023, the number 2 defense, and then in year 2022, he had the 24th ranked defense. Then we're going to go back to 2021, and he was 9th at Oklahoma State. And then the year before that, in COVID year, he was at 34th. So he goes from 34th to 9th at Oklahoma State, which that's pretty impressive because it's not like Oklahoma State's ever been known for good defense, and they're playing they're playing a bunch of air raid teams. Then he goes from 24th to number 2 to number 1. And then if you remember about it, it was a big deal that James Franklin went out and got him and took him away from Ohio State. Now, granted, Ohio State fans can say we didn't want him anymore. Ryan Day was going to let him go, which I don't know how Ryan Day could argue that we're going to let go of the defense coordinator that had the number 1 defense and just let us to help lead us to a national championship. So I think it was more Penn State plucking him away because James Franklin was trying to go all in this year. So like I said, all of those things, and this is without getting into any scheme type fit, based on what I remember watching, he does a lot of basically what every other college defense coordinator does now with how the style of play is. You're going to see 4 down linemen, maybe 3 down linemen with 1 stand-up guy outside on the edge. You're going to have probably 2 backers and then 5 DBs. I mean, that's basically what you see across the board. And then it's kind of what you do with that. So overall, like, I'm excited to see what he does. I did read a few things that it says, I saw multiple times where it says, hey, you got to give him a year or so because it's very complex and it takes time to get his defense going. But like, if we go out this upcoming year and he drops us and we go from 93rd to even 50th, that's a massive win. And then maybe if we go from 50th to, top 20, then that's huge. I mean, then the hire was worth it. I think the last point that I'll make on this, and then I want to hear what you have to say about it. In this day and time, when it comes to the allocating of money, if I'm a defensive coordinator, if Heupel had called me and we were having a conversation because the head coach is like the GM or head coach in the NFL where they're making the final draft pick. Heupel is making the final decision on what do we pay Kyler Kerbyson, 3/4-star out of Knoxville Catholic. And so I'm wanting to know at Jim Knowles, because I don't know how it was with Tim Banks, am I identifying the guys that I really want on my defense, and then it's up to Heupel to maybe pay them what they were? Do I have a say in, like, if Heupel's like, hey, Reed, so I think it's 18 or 19 million that goes to the football team. If I'm going to spend 14 on my offense, I'm just letting you know that you've got, 5, 6, or 7 on defense, and he lets me use that the way I want to, then that's fine. But there is, and I just don't know how this works, but that's the only thing that I would bring up about this as being a defense coordinator, because it works just different now. I mean, earlier on, it was like, who are we going to offer? Who are we going to recruit really hard? Who are we going to give some under the table money to? But now, when you are actually breaking down a salary cap, I have to know that I personally would want a little say in that.
Yeah, I think there would be a little bit too. You don't want, you definitely don't want the offensive-minded guy to maybe be a little misinformed and be like, yeah, we need to pay this guy money. And you're like, no, we fucking don't. Like, this guy is not that good. Like, you need to get his ass out of here, honestly, if he's asking for that.
Yep.
But yeah, I wonder if the coordinators do kind of have say in that, because I think it's also like by position, like what's more important. Like, I'm putting more value on a defensive end than I am probably any other position. I mean, maybe them and then corner, especially how he wants to play defense too. Like, if you're putting your corners on islands a lot, they're probably going to be a little bit more important than the will linebacker, So I think it should be a full conversation, a full community effort when it comes to paying those guys. That if there is a czar kind of over everyone, it's a little bit difficult with this form of paying guys. Because in the NFL, it's very much like, here's your introductory contract, and here's your contract that what you did on the field created. And there's no back and forth. There's no blah, 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 blah. In college, a lot of times these contracts or whatever these guys signed have nothing to do with what they did on the field. It has a lot to do with what they were ranked as. So that part of it is probably tough to kind of maneuver through.
Yeah, I read the article a couple weeks back when it came out that Adam Sparks did, and I retweeted it from our Pancakes and Bacon Twitter. It was a really fascinating read, and I enjoyed it. But it was just talking about how all the NIL and negotiations and all that stuff works. And I had heard you and I were told, I guess the very first year we went to practice and we're there, and I think that's when you met Heupel for the first time, and we were talking with the certain people, and it was very much Heupel didn't tell us this. I shouldn't have said it's the first time you met Heupel, because I didn't want it to be like he met you and he's just like telling us everything. That was not the case. But we are getting told by certain people that it's very much that it's going to be a quarterback is getting this much, left tackle's getting this much, defense ends are getting this much, and corners are getting this much, just like it is in the NFL. As I've been thinking about it, I really that's fine to me, Kyler. But I don't ever feel like I want to be pigeonholed, which I'm not saying they are. But if you get this certain thing in your mind that we can never go over a certain cap for a running back or for a linebacker or for a safety or whatever else, because I truly do feel, and this is the case at college or NFL, that there are certain guys that you need to pay more than what their position is allotted for.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that fail because they don't understand the value of certain positions. Like
certain people.
Yeah, they will never, pay the Saquon Barkley in the running back position because they don't want to pay a running back that much. But then the guy goes out and wins MVP or gets close and wins them a championship. And it's like, okay, well, you put your value in the quarterback that wasn't actually that good instead of putting some value in your running back who was.
Right. Yeah, because now, just side note, I have not gone and watched him in person. I have not broken down his film. I have just seen bits and pieces and clips and stats. But for example, as I'm halfway joking, halfway serious, like I don't know what Tennessee allots for running back, but I'm telling you, I would go over my allotment to try to get that kid from Baylor. I try not to get excited for running backs. I try not to get excited for high school recruits or for any recruits, even if it's transfer portal that come in. But I want to see that Baylor running back go to Tennessee so bad because I want to see a absolute 5-star difference maker dog in the backfield and have because I don't want to hurt any feelings. We're 5 years in and we still have not seen an elite running back. Dylan Sampson was very, very good, and I love Dylan. But Dylan was still a 3-star prospect that grew to be a 4/4.5, 5-star guy while he was here. What he did was very, very awesome. His only downside was his holding on to the rock sometimes. But he's still not a Jahmyr Gibbs, a Saquon Barkley. Like he's still not one of these elite guys when they are in college and now into the pros. And I'm not saying that's what the Baylor guy is, but I think it'd be really, really cool to see one of those in Heupel's offense. Okay, side note, yes, that's all I wanted to say about on the defensive coordinator is like, hey, how do I get what's my input on the building of the roster? But other than that, like I'm good with the Timmy and Jimmy to move on from it. I mean, I feel like I've kind of hit my points. Tim did some good things. Time for a new voice, and let's see what Jim does next year. And I think I speak for all of Vol Nation comfortably on this. Man, we don't really care about what your scheme is like potentially next year. We just don't want to see a bunch of blown assignments and missed tackles. We just want good fundamentals, honestly.
Honestly. I mean, that's one of our biggest complaints and kind of ties into what you said about him coaching safeties has been like tackling in the back end. So that is something. And then I always like the little added factor now with transfer portal. It's like bringing in a coach from a school that just lost their coach. Like all of those players are like, where am I going? Mm-hmm. Where do I want to go? And if any of them are like, I like Jim Knowles, they're like, hey coach, like you got a spot down there for me?
Right.
Dude, if they're good, if they're good with I don't know what payment process they're gonna get, then like please come on. Because the hardest thing in this NIL period is depth. Like that's the hardest thing to accomplish on a team because everybody who thinks they can play doesn't want to be second string.
So that ties in right to jump to the next thing because you and I have talked about it, and I made a comment 2 years ago, I felt like, and it's a lot of the guys that are entering the transfer portal now is the depth because you're going to see guys be here freshman year, in their sophomore year, which is either a redshirt freshman or true sophomore year, and if they're not playing then, or they don't see their chance of playing next year, or if Tennessee's like, hey, thanks, but like we're trying to be honest with you, you're probably not going to see it here, or we got to pull your funds, or you're not getting a contract, and those guys are gone. That is what hurts your depth, but that also means like once again, all the guys that we've lost so far that I've seen go out there is nothing that's it's nothing that's a big deal to Tennessee. Now, I have to say that I was wrong about Jacoby Thomas.
You got to admit one.
You got so Jacoby in there. There's a way like you and I really like Jacoby a lot. I think Vol Nation liked him a lot. It was a very weird one because it was like, dude, you're going to be the starter. You know, why are you leaving? Now, granted, we don't know if Miami came and just threw it on the table and said, hey, we're going to give you, I'm just throwing out numbers. We're going to give you 150,000, and Tennessee was like, hey, we can only keep you at 115. Then you got to go. I mean, you have to go, and that probably hurts him because he's a Tennessee guy, and he talked about how much he loved it here and that he wanted to stay here. But if there's money on the table and it's another good program, like you got to go. Now, he went and had a great year. He was an All-American. He had some really, really big plays, some good stats. I care even more than his stats that he produced, like his attitude, because you just have to have attitude guys on a defense or on an entire football team.
Yeah, that's what we loved about him from the beginning.
Yes. Now, I understand why at Tennessee's point where they were, and if there was back and forth negotiations, that they were just like, we have to let him go because, to be fair, he was still a rotational piece here last year. It wasn't like he was a bona fide starter. Like Boo was a rotational piece, but they're looking at Boo like, hey, Boo's young. He does some really, really good things defensively. He's also good in the specialty. So if we're going to put money, then like I get where you give it to Boo instead of Jacoby. Now, looking back on it, you could be like, Jacoby's a great locker room guy. Boo probably wasn't. Yeah. But if you're just looking at on the field stuff, I can kind of see where Tennessee went. And then Tennessee's like, hey, man, like we would love to pay him, but we can't. And like we still feel good about Andre Turntine, Idris Farouk, Caleb Beasley, Sidney Walton, whoever else it was. So I don't fault Tennessee. And this is the last point about Jacoby Thomas, and I don't know if you disagree. I don't think Jacoby makes us win any more games.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a tough thing to say for one individual player, especially just at safety. I mean, at quarterback, carries a little more weight, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he wins us more games, especially with how dependent we were on corners, not necessarily safeties. But I think there's a few plays versus Oklahoma versus Vandy versus Alabama, where it's like I see him make the tackle over some of the other guys who missed. So I don't know. I mean, it would have been nice to have an All-American back there.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I don't think anybody in Tennessee's coaching staff thought that he was going to go be an All-American. I thought they'd probably think he'd go be a good contributor, but you never know, man. If Jacoby's in at safety against Georgia, does he help? I mean, we still need to make the kick, but does he help elsewhere? I don't think Alabama, probably one player makes a difference. Oklahoma, probably not. I mean, I think one player's not going to make up 20-something points from Vandy, but like you do never know because all it takes is one play here or there where if a Diego Pavi is trying to get outside, Jacoby comes and makes a great tackle, everybody gets fired up. It's a 2-yard gain. I mean, I don't know. But going to the transfer portal so far out of 5 years, if we can say, I mean, we are absolutely net positive with the transfer portal.
Definitely.
Of guys that we have lost compared to brought in. It is an absolute 99.9% been better.
That's right.
So you got Brandon. I don't know if it's a Ness or I remember talking about him. He's a freshman. He was a 3-star. He was from Nashville. I still think Brandon could potentially go somewhere, maybe a little bit lower level. I mean, he's still young. He's got a good frame, good body. He was a good athlete coming out of the Nashville area, but so he's entering. I get it. He's a freshman. Marcus Gore, he was another guy that was down there. I think him and Boo were teammates. You and I thought his highlights were pretty good, and we liked him a decent amount. But he's a redshirt freshman, so he's been here for 2 years. So I like that. At least he gave it 2 years. We saw him. He saw us. He's gone. Not worried about it. Another 3-star, Kellen Lindstrom, 2-year guy, 3-star. We thought he had potential, but once again, he's a depth piece that's now gone that you'll have to replace, but I don't think he makes an impact. And then you got Jamal Wallace, who was a 3-star. He was a JUCO guy. I don't really remember hearing his name, and if he didn't break the rotation this year, he's probably not going to, because we were so thin on the interior at times. We all know about Boo Carter. So for those people right there, man, like that to me, not to be disrespectful, but like that's nothing. That's not news.
No, it's not. It's not the bigger pieces. I mean, I think the biggest news of people leaving is people going to the draft. Like losing actual good players to the NFL is more of the spots where it's like, oh shit, like we gotta find somebody to replace than these other ones. Now, I'm sure there's still guys out there that are deciding on what they want to do, but there's some holes already in the defense and the offense. It's kind of been like, okay, here we go, we got to fill them.
Yeah. I sent you the other night. Hell, I was on Xbox Live. I guess it was Friday night, talking with some of the guys. And they're like, "Yeah, Arian's gone," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like,
thinking transfer first.
Exactly. And I was like, "No way he leaves." Like, well, that's crazy. Something must have really bad happened. I don't know. But then I was like, leaving. They're like, "Yeah, he's going to the league." I said, "Going to the league?" Now, I like Arian. And I think Arian has good potential from an athletic standpoint to play in the league. And he does seem like he is built the right way. It seems like everything you hear about him, he's a good teammate. He's a good leader. He cares. He tries hard. He seems like a good young man that has his head on straight. And there's things that are there, like I said, physically. And I think you and I just wanted to see maybe another year of his eyes in the right spot, reading and reacting. He has had some injuries, played a little bit as a freshman, then he played as a sophomore, got hurt a little bit, and then got missed a couple games this year. I see the NFL potential, but I think it is wild that he's leaving now because of NIL. Because if he comes back to Tennessee, because I'm assuming they want him back, that he's going to make good money to come back to be a leader, and then he can take a shot at the NFL, because I get he might be saying, hey, my body's a little banged up. I need to go now to cash in on what I can cash in. But you can cash in at some point in college now. And Kyler, I mean, I'm not an NFL guy, but like if he gets drafted earlier than like the 5th round, I'll be kind of surprised. Unless I think he'll run well and test well, but like
I agree with you.
But if it's May and everyone knows I love the draft, so I watch the first night, watch the second night, maybe Saturday I'm out on a golf course, because I feel like multiple years in a row I'm on a golf course and I'm going through watching these last little drafts. And if I saw Arian Carter and it said 4th round, I'd be like, holy shit, good, like that's awesome, great for him. But if it says 5 or 6, I'm not going to be surprised. And I don't know if that's worth it right now. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I agree with you. I don't think when you have the potential to raise your stock, why not take it? I get that there could be the injury bug. I don't know how much these injuries have affected him mentally as well. But it's very much like, do you want your last, proof of your play to like not be a complete season? Like you missed games in the year. Like NFL teams look at that as well. They're like, I don't really like the injured guy. And then, I mean, just looking back at previous linebackers at Tennessee and where those guys were drafted when they came out, and being like trying to compare like them versus Arian, it's like, dude, like what makes you think it's going to be the 3rd round? I don't know what points you in that direction. Like, cool, you led the team in tackles, but like, there's a lot of tangibles that you need to have and you need to show and hit for NFL teams to be like, yes, that's my guy. And I don't know if he's necessarily done that yet.
I think that's a great point that if we want to look at linebackers from Tennessee who've gone, which it really stinks because I feel like our linebacker play has been brutal for the past. Butch's years were pretty brutal at times. Heupel, I've liked some of the players. I would say overall it's been okay, not what we would hope. During Pruitt, I thought Pruitt actually with Daniel Patulli and Henry T. And I think Henry T is the best one for us to look at. I know he didn't finish here, and I know that no one likes him, but I remember you and I having conversations about these guys going to the league, and you made a comment that you're like, you don't see Henry T playing in the league. Or you thought that like he was probably gonna be like a special teams guy, but he's a starter now for the Texans, and he's been fine. Like I think he's been pretty good. He's not their best linebacker, but he's not the worst in the NFL. And I just look at Henry T, and I think he has some of the same similar attributes as Arian. Like I think they both move pretty well and play pretty well, but Henry T probably was still better. I didn't watch him his last year because he was at Alabama, but he went, if I'm not mistaken, he was a third or fourth rounder, maybe fifth rounder. Actually, you know what? I don't think he was third. I think he was probably more fourth or fifth. But it's like that's so now I think about that with Arian, and I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, and
Exactly.
I don't remember if Henry T had an injury history like Arian does or whatever. So that was the only person I could really think of to try to put back on it. The last one we had drafted was Jalen Reese-Maben, and he was probably fourth, fifth, sixth guy, and he's made a great NFL career as a spot guy and a special teamers. But is that what Arian's going for? I guess maybe that's kind of what he's looking for to do. I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah, this one was very surprising. I hope nothing but the best for him. Hell, I still remember where I was when he picked us over Alabama, and, I had high hopes for him. And like I said, he had moments of good, but then he also had moments that made you and I want to pull our hair out. So,
yeah, he's not a complete product, so it just makes it feel like I don't know if it's the time for him.
Yeah, I'll say this. I would like to have him back next year because I think he could have been really good next year with that age. But I'm excited about JP with Jordan Pilati. Jaden Harmon, I want to see how he takes another step. Edwin Spillman's going to be good. You got T-Lander again, which, like I said, he's capped out, but he's still a great guy to have in the room. So I'm not – and then whoever they go get in the transfer portal, which I think is the next conversation for us is I don't dive into this enough to say what we need to go get, but I think everyone in Vol Nation is saying the same thing. Like, we want a safety or two. I want 2 or 3 D linemen. I'd love if we got 2 big old D tackles and maybe another edge player. Corner, I probably feel pretty good about. Colton Hood hasn't announced it yet that I haven't seen. I'd be shocked if he doesn't go because they're projecting him as a second rounder. If he stays, that's a massive victory for the University of Tennessee. But yeah, transfer portal wise, this college football now is like it's a double-edged sword, which I know I've said that twice now on this pod, but it really is like you've always had to hit on the players, but now you kind of have 2 opportunities. So it's like you can hit to try to bring in your guys from high school, which I still don't mind bringing high school guys in for 2 reasons, because I feel like that's where you build your culture and your love for Tennessee.
True.
Because then when you transfer portal guys in, they're more mercenaries. Now, Now you still have guys that you bring in from transfer portal that seem like they really embody Vol Nation of a Brew McCoy, a Jackson Moy who's spoken very highly of it. And those are just a couple that I can off the top of my head. I think the other ones have had good experiences here. But when you get those guys that are fresh pups out of high school, but anyway, so I don't mind that Tennessee's going that route. I think all of us just like, we don't care where you get them. We just need them to be really good. But now you have two opportunities. And if you sign a guy and you get him on the practice field in spring practice, and you're like, hey, this might not be what we think because he's not going to be good enough as quickly as we'd hoped, or we just feel like we maybe whiffed completely, then you do have the transfer portal to go get older guys. And I'll be honest with you, like, I love older guys. I love the older guys because that's what, like,
ready right away.
Yep. And they've seen it. They've done it. They're more physically gifted. I mean, that's what Vanderbilt did. They just said, we're just going to go get a bunch of old heads that play physical ball. And that was beautiful. Like, how they constructed it was beautiful. I mean, they did a great, great job. So, I mean, what do you want from the transfer portal?
I mean, that's the same thing. I want more depth because people always get hurt. It always happens. And I really enjoy the older guys at the mercenary positions, if that makes sense. I think there are certain positions that are more in tune to be in that mercenary. The DB position is more in tune to that. I would probably say the wide receiver / running back is more in tune to that. And the quarterback is where I'm like, I want a guy who's here, who gets the offense, who understands the offense, who can really control it, almost an extension of Heupel out there. And I think that takes time. So it's a little harder to be the mercenary. I mean, you got to be very skilled if you want to do that. So, yeah. And I think that certain groups like offensive line, defensive line aren't necessarily as full of themselves as maybe some other position groups.
Yes.
And won't necessarily think of it as like, I'm going here to make a paycheck. It's more like I'm going here to play some good football.
Yeah.
But that's just those kind of position groups in general that you have more guys like that because they're the big uglies. They're the ones that aren't flashy. So that's the kind of stuff I want. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about our positions that we love the most and that make the biggest difference. So it's like that's where I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what I feel good about is I trust Heupel. I trust Heupel on game day when it comes to scheming and X's and O's, things like that. I do want Heupel, and I've heard this talked about a lot, and it was something that I mean, I don't think anyone with the knowledge of football walks out of that stadium after Vanderbilt or stops watching the TV and just says, like, we got to be more physical moving forward, mentally and physically. And so, like, that's the only thing that I want to see with Heupel different is, like, I want to make sure – because, listen, I've seen us win fourth-quarter games. I've seen us clutch up. I've seen us be mentally tough. I don't think I've ever watched a Tennessee team and felt like players were soft, maybe the team as a whole. But, like, as I think of other players, I mean, I can picture these dudes sticking their head in the fan and getting after it. Now – I guess, so it's. I know Jason Swain has said the team was soft, and Eric Ainge, and these are just when I'm driving around going from job to job, and I'm hearing them on the radio on Sports Animal and talking, and that's if their opinion, that's fine. I mean, they're former players, they watch it, they keep up with it. So I'm not saying I disagree with them, but I say all that to say I feel really good with where we are with our coach and our coaching staff. Now it's just like I just hope that we evaluate properly.
Yeah,
because that's what's going to separate us and every other team. I mean, you're going to have your teams that peak and have good big years like Vandy, because I don't think Vandy will be in this conversation next year. I think they'll probably have 4 or 5 losses maybe. Not that I don't think Clark Lee's not good, but I don't think they're going to jump that high up. And by the way, we didn't even talk about the schedule release. I mean, there's a lot of tough schedules in the SEC next year. I don't know how we're going to have multiple if there's a team coming out of the SEC next year with only 1 loss, I'm going to be shocked because I just think
hey, it's how the cookie crumbles. I mean, fucking Texas A&M this year played all of the worst teams in the SEC.
True.
The bottom 8.
True. I know. And then they finally played one. They almost lost to South Carolina, and then they finally played a pretty good one. But anyways, I just the evaluation is key, and that's what I want. And I have to trust them, man. When I've seen stuff pop up on Twitter and it's someone we got out of the transfer portal, 9 times out of 10 they're good, and 9 times out of 10 when the dudes that are walking, you can go back and look at them and like play speaks. I mean, I saw where Christian Harrison, which I didn't mind him as a player, he's entering the portal again, and I saw where Shadavian Bradley, he's entering the portal again. So it's like it's obviously not a Tennessee thing with some of those dudes, but I can take that in to say going to the Bulls and CFP. I have thoroughly enjoyed all of the nonsense because people laughed at Tennessee all those years where we had Dooley and Butch and Pruitt and how it ended, and we were just a laughing stock. So to watch, now everyone knows that watches this, I can't stand Penn State. I can't stand Notre Dame. I don't like Michigan. I will give Michigan a little bit of credit because when Harbaugh was there, they played pound the rock football and they won a national championship. Do I think they were the best team that year? I don't know. If they go through an SEC schedule, I don't know. But, like, they did it. And even though I don't like Ohio State, and I think Ohio State's overrated every year, they still have won a national championship last year, and then they've had some as we were growing up. But it's like Notre Dame, you guys haven't been good in years. I know you got there last year, but you didn't win it. And one of the best tweets I've seen, was that it said Marcus Freeman has done the unthinkable, and that is make Notre Dame halfway likable. And all of that went out the window when they said, we're taking our ball and going home. Now, before I get to that, I just want to say that, like, watching what happened with Ole Miss and with Lane and with LSU and with Florida and all this, hearing the Kalen DeBoer rumors, it has been awesome to sit back and enjoy it because we went through our shit and we got our head coach, and I love watching this nonsense. Now, for the Michigan stuff, when I saw that he got fired, I immediately tweeted out Michigan man, laugh emojis. Clearly, I did not know what was going to be taking place. It's not like I'm not in some position of power that's like, hey, I need to apologize for that. No, like I just did it because I thought it was funny and I don't like Michigan. But that is very serious, and I feel terrible for his wife and his kids. And that guy needs some serious help. I mean, talking about life coming at you fast. One day you're the head coach at Michigan. The next day you're sitting in a jail arraignment, here get with your hearing. That's crazy. But overall, watching all this stuff has been awesome because I don't really think there's that many great coaches around. The only school, I've thought about this. I don't know what your opinion is. And then I'll be quiet to hear what your thoughts are. The only school that I think that can feel the best about where they are as a coach and as their head coach is Georgia Bulldog fans. You have a two-time national winner, a two-time national championship winner. He's had looks at it. I mean, I guess last year was the only year he didn't make the playoffs, or maybe they did make. I forget what happened last year with Georgia. That is, they still had a fine team, but other than that, like, Ryan Day got one, but then like they don't play anybody every year, so I don't know how
they
much.
Also lose games like the Big Ten championship, Michigan last year.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. So it's like Notre Dame fans, in a weird way, can be like, some people can like him, some people can dislike him, but it's like everywhere else, I don't know who could be. I mean, they love Marcus Freeman, but it's like he's done a good job, and he doesn't have a natty yet. I mean, I'm sure they really, really like him, but they played 2 games that mattered this year and lost both of them. So I'm happy with Heupel. I'm not saying there's other things to be, but I just love sitting back as a Tennessee fan and watching all this nonsense.
I mean, we haven't been in this position before recently, so it is very nice to be here, sit back and watch the chaos. I would agree with you with the Notre Dame take. It's like very pouty of them to skip a bowl game, mainly because they don't want to give money to ESPN, who screwed them over, air quotes. You lost the games you should have won. Sorry. That's what freaking happens. You got bumped out because you lost to Miami, who got put in. If another team got put in over you that you guys didn't play, and there's no head-to-head, and maybe you can argue, yeah, maybe you have a point there. But there's been a lot of other teams who've got screwed over more than you guys, okay? You get the benefit of the doubt every single year, no matter if your team is good or not, no matter if your coach is good or not. You guys are in the top 10 every year, okay? So nobody wants to hear it from Notre Dame. Nobody wants to hear it. I would agree with you. I think there's a few coaches out there that teams and fans are like, there's no doubt, like this is a guy. I think Kirk Cignetti has put himself in that position.
Right.
I haven't seen something like this where a program like Indiana football can grow in 2 years to the spot that they're at right now. And I mean, he's fucking backed up every word he said, which is insane.
Yeah. Only other person I've seen do it is Heupel, and Heupel
exactly that second year. I mean,
yeah. But the only thing is, UT has won a national championship in football in our lifetimes. Indiana hasn't come close to any of that. So
none of it.
Now, granted, Indiana they don't have the schedule and the difficulties that Tennessee has. So it's a little bit easier in a transfer portal to go and get a Mendoza and a couple other guys. But I'm not taking anything away from Kirk because I love Kirk Cignetti, and he did beat Ohio State and some of that stuff. Because this year for me, it's like I think we have some good teams, but there's not one great team. So that's why I think the playoffs should be awesome. But anyways, yes, go ahead, continue.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like you said with Ryan Day, you see like chinks in the armor of like, that Michigan loss last year was tough. That the fact that we can't win a conference championship, but we still have a chance to win a national championship, it's like kind of annoying as a fan. And then some guys on the I guess cusp of being solidified or greatness in like the Dan Lannings, the Lane Kiffins, the Mike Elkos, where it's like we don't quite know yet. There is the possibility. I mean, Lane Kiffin did get Ole Miss to that many wins into a playoff berth. Mike Elko does have his team where he does have his team. Dan Lanning has been consistent, just hasn't finished the job. So all of that stuff, it's very entertaining to see. I cannot wait to watch all of these games. And yeah, other coaches stuff. I was shocked by the Michigan thing. It's a very like decisions you make control what happens to you, and it is very childish when people make bad decisions and shit doesn't go their way and they immediately panic and lose their heads and try and fight their way out of punishment. I mean, that's really what it is. It's not taking accountability for the decisions you make. And that's what he did. And now he's really feeling it because he made everything worse on himself. And it made me think back to like Bobby Petrino in the exact same year that what happened to Bobby is happening to somebody else. He is having an opportunity to fight for a head coaching job again. And it's just like, man, coaches and men in football, I'll tell you this, don't necessarily care about who you have sex with. So if the other stuff doesn't happen after the fact, he would have got another coaching job somewhere.
Yep. Yep.
It might not have been at the level he wants, but he would have got a coaching job.
Yeah. Yeah. You come out and be like, I apologize. I'm so embarrassed. Yada, yada, yada. Say all the right stuff. Obviously, he's got to go try to mend stuff with his family. But, yeah, if you don't crash out, then, yeah, you'll get another coaching job. But, I mean, he's done for now. I don't know if anyone would touch him even. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to – I say for now. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to spend in prison. But, I mean, maybe 10 years from now he gets an opportunity again to go be a tight end. I don't know. But I do have a quick question for you.
Good.
I'm not asking you this because he used to be our coach. I'm asking you this just out of curiosity, but do you think Lane will be successful at LSU? And I will let you determine what success is.
I think Lane very much can be successful at LSU. I think he can win a national championship at that school. But I don't know if LSU is where Lane wants to be. And that's just because of everything Lane has ever done in his coaching career. That is why I don't know if LSU is where he wants to be. Could I see him in 3 years go, I want the Alabama job and go there? Yeah, I could, because he's done it twice now. This guy's more famous for his coach leaving / firings than anything else in his entire career. He would do it again for an opportunity somewhere else. So I don't know if he would, sack up and go, this is my home. This is where I want to be. This is where I'm going to stay. He could become a legend like a Nick Saban is in the minds of people in Alabama. He could become that in LSU. Does he want that, though? No fucking clue. Because Lane Kiffin does what he fucking wants. And he doesn't care about anybody else in the way. And that's just the truth. And that's how it's been a good amount of his life.
I'm not defending him, but he did stay at Ole Miss for 6 years. I mean, until he stayed at Ole Miss because he had to stay at Ole Miss. I think he could have gotten jobs 2 years ago. He could have been there 4 years.
At where, though?
I think Auburn. I mean, that was the closest one that was documented that he was going to take the Auburn job before they hired you, and he stayed at Ole Miss.
Is that a big jump from where he was at that point?
Auburn
had previous success under Cam Newton.
No, they had it with Nick Marshall. No, I mean, I think Auburn's a better job than Ole Miss. Comparing on what you think is a better job. But, yeah, I think overall I would argue that Auburn's a better job than Ole Miss now, 2 or 3 years later. My thing is, so I think if he wanted to be a legend at one school, he could have stayed at Ole Miss and been a legend, had a statue built after him because he could have stayed there for another 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He's always going to win 9, 10, 11 games, and they're going to be happy with that. The thing about LSU is he's just going to be that wins a natty there. Les Miles won one, Nick Saban won one. So it's like LSU wins natties, not necessarily the coaches. Because I don't think anyone's arguing that Coach O or Les Miles are good, are really good head coaches. The LSU is a much better job than Ole Miss. Just simply, I don't know what the money is NIL wise, but simply because of the talent that is within your 2 mile radius of LSU. There's Mississippi has some pretty good ball players that come out of there, but those players also go to Bama, Tennessee, Mississippi State, maybe Missouri, maybe Texas. So that Mississippi area gets poached a good amount. But LSU I think LSU has the most per capita guys in the NFL. So I think it's a much better job. But the point that needs to be made about LSU, if Kiffin goes there this year and he coaches there and they don't win the playoffs, going into year 2, his seat is on fire, in my opinion, because LSU is just different, man. Like, you can win 9, 8, 9, 10 games at Ole Miss and then be happy. But you go to LSU and do that, and he could get blown out of there in 2 years or 3 years if it's, not looking good. Now,
we just saw it happen.
Mm-hmm.
They did. I mean, that's why Brian Kelly is fired. Cool, you had a Heisman winner. Yeah, great, you made it to the SEC championship, but it's not good enough.
Yeah, plus the fit. Agreed with you, but also the fit was just terrible there too. But yeah, it's just when you go to a place that has better resources, most likely the expectations are going to be higher too, and that's the thing. So it's like, hell, with how it looked now, maybe he could have won a national championship at Ole Miss, and you are a legend if you're the person that's won a national championship at Ole Miss compared to going to LSU. And maybe he felt like he peaked, as us as competitors, once you get to a place and you feel like you've achieved the goal you want to achieve, it's kind of hard to reset back to, hey, I don't think I can win a national championship here. My goal was to come here and win 10 or 11 games every year, and I've done that a couple of years in a row now. Like, I'm ready for my next thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I was just curious, but I do think there's something to say that it's just not going to be an automatic home run hire. I think Lane is a very good coach. He's a very good coach on game day. I think he's super lame. I wouldn't want him as my coach, but I have to give him credit. He is a good coach. But I don't think those two are just automatically a good program and a good coach are automatically going to work, because I don't like Brian Kelly. But Brian Kelly is a pretty darn good coach, even though he seems to be a shitty human being.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, there's a good amount of coaches out there that are great coaches and shitty persons. So,
yeah. Last thing that I'll say is I legitimately was mad. Like, I was pissed, and I was like, Notre Dame, you guys are so lame when they put that out. And I was so happy to see that they got absolutely murdered on social media. Their athletic director saying that they played the tennis heart. They had the most dominant 10-game win streak in college football is insane. I'm fine with you speaking the propaganda for your school because everyone does it. But that is just like, if I'm Marcus Freeman, I'm like, hey, chill. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, like, yeah. I mean, you ain't got to lie. You got to try and lie to everybody.
Yeah. And then, so all that was ridiculous that they feel like they're better than that. You're not, they're Notre Dame, like, you're a big name, but like, you weren't the most watched football team and all. I mean, you were like 10th this year of most watched. So it's like, you're not going to hurt ESPN and their $1 billion company. I think it's bad for players. I think it's bad for players to say all these coaches now, and like I feel like Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel, some of these other guys that I first heard it that was like, hey, put the ball down. We'll play you in the street, like anytime, anywhere, let's go. You can't preach that and then have an opportunity to go compete and say, nah, we're good. So it's like Marcus Freeman, that kind of hurts how you – I mean, these kids are young, so maybe it doesn't matter, but, like, I don't like how that looks. Then plus for these seniors who, like, that was going to be their last football game ever, or some of these other, like, walk-ons who would have gotten to enjoy going to a bowl game and get gifts, and for your team, you would have had an extra 15 practices. Like, I think everything about it is bad. Everything, in my opinion. And then that annoyed me. I think it's hilarious watching that Penn State had to go. I don't fault them for firing James Franklin, but to not be able to have someone in place is super embarrassing. Now, they think that they might have ended up with the guy that was good the whole time. I'm not saying Matt Campbell's not a good coach, but he doesn't get me excited. You know, he's done good at Iowa.
It's like it was like their 30th choice. It wasn't their first choice. They can make themselves feel good about it now, but hell, they came to fucking Heupel before they went to Matt Campbell and asked him.
And that's the thing you got to say is, like, if Matt Campbell was one of your guys all the time, then, like, why didn't you have him after 2 or 3 weeks, not a month? So that was hilarious to watch. And I just love watching these programs that think that they are above what they are, and they get humbled. So Penn State gets humbled.
That there's no way that they could fall off the mountain. that it's our program. Our program's the top 5 program in the country. And what coach wouldn't want to come here?
Plenty.
There's a lot.
So Penn State got humbled. I think there's some humbling a little bit from Notre Dame, even though they won't say it. For Michigan, I think Michigan's about to see it right now. You know, I think Michigan's about to see it and understand, which they're at the late end. I mean, all these other coaches have either been re-signed or whatever else. I mean, LSU's probably the only team, the only program that can feel good about themselves because they got their number one guy and they stole him from somewhere else. But who was the other one I was about? Oh, like Florida. Like, are Florida fans jazzed about John Summerall? I mean, you got Sunbelt Billy, and now you might have Power 5 John. I mean, or Group of 5 John. I don't know, man. So it's just nice to sit back as Tennessee guys and be like, wow, we feel good.
Yeah. No, it's very nice. We were the team going through coaching just in and out, revolving doors and struggling to keep up with everybody else. And they had consistency and everything over there. And now it's like, all right, now y'all get a little taste of it.
It's nice.
I love being out of that while everybody else is struggling with it. It's fun.
Yeah, I do too. All right, that's all I got. Did you have any? I mean, did you have any thoughts or predictions on the upcoming games?
You know, I like what you said earlier. There a lot of these teams have things that I can see that the weaknesses in, so it makes me feel like nobody is perfect and nobody is a guaranteed win. Now the 2 Group of 5 teams in there, and a Tulane and a James Madison, make those games very easy for Ole Miss and Oregon. So I don't see a lot of competition there, but like watching the Oklahoma-Alabama game again is going to be fun. Mm-hmm. I don't like some of the decision-making of the playoff committee. I really don't like the fact that Ole Miss just stayed exactly where they were after losing their coach. Feels very much like that's not like that's a different team. Like that is a different team. Like I would pick other teams over that team now they do not have their coach. I think you have to take that into consideration. I don't like the fact that Alabama didn't suffer from a loss in their conference championship, but BYU did and Ohio State did, technically. So what are the rules? Like, is it just because Alabama's Alabama? Like, I really don't like that. I hate that about it. And yeah, it's going to be fun to see some of these teams compete. I think Ohio State and Georgia are eventually going to see each other. I don't think either of those teams will lose before they see each other. And I think Indiana is going to get to that, Final Four spot. And I'm excited to see what Texas Tech can do. I think it's kind of up in the air because Oklahoma and Alabama are one of those teams where it's like you don't exactly know who you're going to get when you play them because that's who Texas Tech would be playing after that, I think. No. They're playing Oregon. It'd be Indiana who's playing them. So that'd be a little weird for Indiana. I don't know what team they'd get. And then Oregon, Texas Tech would be very fun to watch.
Yeah. No, I think this year's NFL playoffs and college football players are going to be great because there's not an elite team, especially in college. I think everyone is flawed, all of them. I mean, I think if Georgia's right, I've seen Georgia win big games, and so I feel good about Georgia, but like I still don't trust Ohio State or Indiana because I haven't seen them play anybody outside of themselves. Just real quick, I think the committee got it right for the rules that they have now. Do I think Vanderbilt and Texas would beat James Madison and Tulane? Yes. But if you have the automatic bids for those, then they're in. That's just how it works. If you want to do whoever's the top 12 teams get in next year, fine. Then you have an argument.
I agree. You have to follow the rules that you've set in place. I think
Right.
who really fucked that up is the ACC and their conference rules of who gets to play in the conference championship, and having a 7-5 Duke win their conference.
Yeah.
That's fucked up of them. The fact that like teams are playing, ACC teams are playing other ACC teams and the games don't count inside the conference. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you all need to figure out your shit, because their like organizational decision making is affecting the playoff.
Yeah. I that's a great point. I actually didn't even really know that they were that in. I'm not worried about it because I don't feel like there's anyone from the ACC that I was like, oh man, they really could have made a name for themselves in the postseason. So I didn't even know that. That's crazy to think that. But
it would have been a conference champion from ACC of Miami or Virginia being the 5th conference champion. So it wouldn't have been one of them. And then it would have let in a Notre Dame, a BYU, one of those guys that were on the fringe.
Yeah. Well, I've watched BYU twice. From the eye test, I don't think they need to be in. I don't think they're anything good at all.
I mean, quarterback got hurt. It sucks.
Yeah. I don't like Bama at all, but I do think they deserve to be in over Texas and over Notre Dame and over Vandy for one reason. For one reason only. They have a very, very good win at going to Georgia and winning. If you look at Vandy's best win is beating Tennessee. That's not that good of a win. If you want in, you got to beat some of the better teams on your schedule. Texas, you had a really good win against Texas A&M. And I know people were saying, well, they shouldn't have scheduled Ohio State at the beginning of the year because if they played Montana State and beat them, then they're probably in. That's fine. I agree with that argument, but don't lose to Florida. That's it. Don't lose to Florida. And then with Notre Dame, I've already said it. You played 2 games all year that mattered. You lost both of them. Now, you can say USC was a good win. I can disagree. I think it's a fine win. But if that's you're hanging at, and that's why I don't care that any of those teams didn't get in. And Notre Dame saying we were flabbergasted because we were ranked higher than Miami the whole time, fair. That's a fair point. But that also means you and the committee are idiots because the committee should have had Miami ahead of you because of the head-to-head. Because guess what? When you play games on the field, they have to matter. So if you're sitting there and you're like, if my Notre Dame's like, oh, we're 11th, we're definitely getting in. It's like Miami's right behind you. And the committee, unless the committee is either rigged or complete idiots, you're getting jumped because Miami beat you already. Like that's how it goes. If I was a Miami fan and they put Notre Dame in over Miami, I would literally go burn down all of every college stadium.
Yeah. Riot. It would be crazy. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like when you actually look at the other teams, and maybe Alabama's not deserving versus the other teams. But what I don't like is Alabama moved up in the rankings after beating a middling Auburn team by 1 score, barely actually beating them, and they didn't move back in the rankings after getting absolutely crushed by the team that they already beat.
Yeah.
It's just very like, oh, this is Homer as fuck, dude. Like the guy said that we thought Alabama played a really good first half versus Auburn when they moved them up last week or the week before last. It's like, dude, come on. Like quit bullshitting me. Just say that you like they like the Alabama part of it. They want to make sure that they're good. Like, what are you moving them up for? Because they played a good half versus Auburn. Why are you not moving them back when you're moving 2 other conference losers back? There's something there.
I get
There's smoke, there's fire.
I get that. But why don't they just come out and say, hey, the eye test is that Bama's better than BYU and who else?
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, BYU and Notre Dame would be the ones to have the best gripe to try and move up and replace.
Yeah, say Bama didn't play their best game against Georgia. We understand that, but
or
they
Florida
still have
State or Oklahoma.
Yeah, but if we're arguing the other ones, they still have they still have a better win over Notre Dame or BYU.
It's true. It's true. I just hate the fact that Alabama's the first 3-loss team to make it into the college football playoffs.
Valid, and I agree with you. I mean, if I was picking, if you and I were picking, we would put BYU in there just because Bama fans off. But like, it's
yeah, that's not very fair, is it?
Good conversation, brother.
All right, man.
All right, everybody have a good week. Talk to you soon.
See ya. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment. If you are just listening, rate, review, download, re-download, follow us on all those listening platforms. Follow us on social media. Everything is in the description below. You guys are the best fans in the world. Thank you so much. What an off season we're getting into. We didn't really dive into the bowl game yet, but playing Illinois, excited for that. And we'll get into that a little bit more when it gets there. But yeah, again, just thank you guys. And man, it's great to be a Vol right now. As always, go Vols.